Hello there, welcome back to my channel, Be More with Older. Today, we will be exploring the hidden body language cues that tell you everything. First, the invisible language. Imagine this. You're standing at a critical juncture in your life, could be a negotiation, a first date, a high-profile presentation. You've prepared your words perfectly, you feel confident. But as you speak, you see it. A slight tremor in a hand, a fleeting shadow across an eye, a subtle shift in posture. What do these silent signals mean? For years, I treated human interaction like a radio. I only focused on the voice, the audio. I was deaf to the far louder, more truthful signal, the visuals. I'd walk away from conversations feeling confused, asking myself, did they even hear me? Why did that go so wrong? I was missing the entire broadcast. Every room you enter, be it a bustling cafe, a quiet home, or a tense boardroom, has an emotional temperature. People aren't just communicating with their mouths, they're communicating with their feet, their shoulders, their breath, etc. They are telling you exactly how they feel about you, the topic, and the environment, often without even realizing it. Today, I'm going to help you become fluent in this secret language as much as I can. We're going to talk about reading the room, the powerful soft skill that separates the successful from the merely competent. This isn't about manipulation. It's about deep connection, genuine empathy, and gaining the kind of clarity that allows you to navigate the world like a social architect. Pay attention, because what you're about to learn will change how you make observations forever. The first story, the boardroom blizzard, the catastrophe of context. My transformation began with a humiliation I will never forget. It was an early quarterly review, a meeting I'd been preparing for 6 weeks. I was determined to impress the senior leadership with a bold, complex solution to our company's logistics problem. I was fresh out of training, armed with graphs, data, and an unshakable belief in my own brilliance. I entered the austere boardroom. The atmosphere was immediately heavy, but I dismissed it as executive seriousness. Mr. Henderson, our VP, usually greeted me with a nod. Today, he simply stared at his notes, his face a mask of exhaustion. Ms. Chen, normally a whirlwind of energy, was leaning back, her head resting against the chair, her arms loosely crossed, a posture of emotional distance, though I didn't know the term then. And Mr. Davies, the company's most jovial man, was quiet, his right hand gripping his coffee mug so tightly his knuckles were white. I began my presentation. I was clear, logical, and passionate. 5 minutes in, the room's energy plummeted. I watched the subtle, terrifying shifts. Mr. Henderson's jaw went from relaxed to tight, a sign of suppressed frustration. Ms. Chen's loose arms became firmly locked, and her foot began a rapid, rhythmic tap on the carpet, a classic signal of impatience and disagreement. I kept pushing louder, faster. I was trying to force my words through a wall of resistance. When I delivered my grand, costly solution, I expected questions, debate, maybe even a praise. Instead, there was a deafening, terrifying silence. Mr. Henderson simply looked up, his eyes meeting mine. His voice was soft, flat, and final. Thank you. We'll consider this later. My solution, 6 weeks of work, was vaporized in 30 seconds. Later that day, my mentor, an older woman named Alina, found me staring blankly at my desk. Oler, she said, your proposal was excellent, but your timing was catastrophic. Did you read the room? She explained. The executives had just come from a 3-hour emergency budget meeting, where they were forced to lay off a third of an entire department. They weren't in a problem-solving mood. They were in a grief and exhaustion state. They needed empathy, reassurance, and strategic simplicity, not a bold, resource-heavy new venture. The lesson hit me like a physical blow. The context of the room always overrules the quality of the content. My words were right, but my inability to read the surrounding emotional landscape made them completely irrelevant. Decoding the individual. That moment was my true start in communication. I realized I had to learn the alphabet of nonverbal cues. Let's break down the most powerful individual signals you can look out for. 1. The power of the upper body, arms and shoulders. Crossed arms, the shield. This is the most misunderstood signal. It's not always hostility. It is fundamentally a boundary. Is it a tight, almost hugging posture, chin tucked? That signals deep insecurity or strong disagreement, a need for self-comfort. Is it a loose, casual cross with the head slightly tilted? That might just be comfort or critical contemplation. The key is the tension. Tense shoulders and tightly locked arms mean the person is closed off, either to you or to the idea being discussed. The shoulder shrug, a quick unilateral shrug, often means I don't know or I don't care. But a slight, quick double shrug during a statement means they may lack confidence in what is being said. Watch for the micro shrug when someone makes a strong claim. It often betrays their own doubt. 2. The truth in the hands, anxiety and authority. Fidgeting hands, whether it's rubbing, gripping, or drumming. This is bottled energy, anxiety, impatience, or boredom struggling to escape. Mr. Davies was drumming because his internal energy was screaming, "End this meeting." If you see sustained fidgeting, it's your signal to change your pace, ask a question, or take a short break. Steepled hands, the confident bridge, the fingertips touching, palms apart, forming a little pyramid. This is a classic sign of confidence, authority, and deep consideration. It suggests the person feels secure in their position and is thoughtfully processing the information. If you see this, you have their full attention and they are likely weighing your ideas. Hands in pockets, a retreat. Hands hidden away is a literal hiding of information. It can signal evasiveness or simply discomfort. In a negotiation, exposed hands, even resting on the table, signal honesty and openness to the process. 3. The eyes and face, the fast track to emotion. 4. Micro-expressions. These are fleeting facial expressions, anger, disgust, fear, that last less than half a second. You likely won't consciously see them at first, but your gut will register them. Look for the sudden tightening of the lips, which could signify disagreement, or the quick frown as confusion or displeasure. These are genuine, unfiltered reactions. The chin and jaw, a locked, tight jaw, as seen on Mr. Henderson, is almost always a sign of stress, control, or suppression. The person is holding back words or emotion. A quick, subtle head shake when they agree verbally is a powerful sign of a lie or a deep conflict. Our second story, the silent dinner, reading the group dynamic. Individual cues are important, but to read the room, you must look at the group dynamic. Let me share a story from a social setting that taught me more than any business book. This was a dinner party with 3 couples. I had recently met all of them. As the conversation flowed, I began my observations. I wasn't listening to the words, I was watching the space. The direction of the feet. Notice where the feet are pointing. They are an internal compass. In that dinner, one couple was telling a story about their recent trip. 2 people's feet, Jane and Mark, were pointed directly at the speaker, a sign of full engagement. However, the third person, David, had his feet pointed toward the kitchen exit. He wasn't bored. He was subconsciously signaling his desire to disengage or leave. I realized he was uncomfortable with the subject, and I steered the topic toward a lighter subject about the city, and his body realigned instantly. The clustering and spacing, proximity. At the start of the dinner, everyone was evenly spaced. As the night progressed and certain topics came up, one couple consistently reduced the space between themselves. touching shoulders and leaning inward. This signaled alignment and agreement. Conversely, when a sensitive topic arose, another individual, Sarah, started leaning back, subtly increasing the physical distance between herself and the group. She was creating a bubble of safety, signaling she did not want to participate in that line of conversation. Mimicry and mirroring, the harmony gauge. The most profound discovery was mirroring. When people are in deep rapport and agreement, they will subconsciously mirror each other's actions. If one person leans forward, the other does. If one person sips their drink, the other follows shortly after. At the dinner, I saw the two most aligned couples doing this constantly. But the moment Sarah started pulling away, she stopped mirroring completely. It was a visible sign that the group harmony had been temporarily fractured for her. The takeaway was profound. The distance between people and the direction their bodies face tells you who is in rapport, who is trying to leave, and who is on the same team. Here's the secret most people never figure out. The room is always speaking. Most people just never learned how to listen. But now you have. From today on, you won't just hear words, you'll catch the signals behind them. This is your new advantage. Your edge above average. Because when you can read the room, you can lead the room. So step into your next conversation with confidence. Look, notice, adjust. And watch how every interaction, opportunities, and relationships starts falling into place. The signals are already there. Now you're the one who can see them. This has been Be More with Older. See you in the next video.